more of my ramblings. If you want to, of course, you can turn off the sound and just be inspired by the beauty of the flowers. I love flowers. Appreciate the ultimate creator and enjoy these petals. Perfect creations of he or she who has no name. Just look at and see these colorful and fragile examples of life itself. As for my ramblings, they're fun, really, depending on your attitude. Listen and debunk each and every word I say based on your own experiences and knowledge, and don't forget to share your comments. Trust me, I won't be offended. Okay? Now for the technicalities of this video. It was shot with a Canon T3i, which is an older camera. The lens used was a Canon EFS f2.8 60mm macro lens. As for the results, well, judge the results for yourself. The editing software, I used Magix Movie Edit Pro. The birds were recorded in my backyard. The music was created by Webster G. Clark II. Yes, he has a Facebook page, okay? On we go. I, like most, am influenced by the wisdom of others. One of my favorite books happens to be the Bible. Yes, the Bible. It is true that most of the tales are unsubstantiated and perhaps just blatant lies, but that's not important to me. I enjoy reading the Proverbs and Ecclesiastes, and let's face it, the Old Testament has some really great tales. The stuff movies are made of. I enjoy reading these two books, the Proverbs and Ecclesiastes, because of the wisdom that I find there. I also enjoy reading anything on Zen, Buddhism, the I Ching, simple books on the Kabbalah, and lately, articles written by Dr. Joe Dispenza. I'm also influenced by sound bites, just like you. Some years ago, I heard someone say that Americans are either slaves or masters. I think I was in Europe at the time. It is based on the country's tradition. The suggestion, of course, was that our economy is based on the attitude and the culture of slaves and their relationship to their masters. What? Then I started to think about that. Slaves and masters. Have you ever sat in a conversation with someone who really hate their job, but they have no choice? They must continue because they owe way, way too much money. There's a bit of dynamics going on here between debt and jobs, don't you think? Anyway, I looked at the people who are the richest and most influential, and almost every one of them were masters. Yes, masters. Inherited their fortune and their richness, and they equal to about 2% of the population. The rest, of course, were slaves, whether they knew it or not. Want to know if you're a slave at your workplace? Try using the phone to make a personal phone call while working. Why can't you? Because, after all, there are bills to pay. So working under such conditions is fine for some people, but not all. Some broke away and created their own world. The true innovators and creators broke away from the masses and became their own bosses. I'm talking about the Steve Jobs of the world, the Phil Knights of the world, the Elon Musks of the world, the Richard Bransons of the world, the masters of their world. And of course, the Annie Malone of the world. Annie Malone, yes, look her up, please do. Then I started to look at our educational system, designed to get jobs, to work for those who really control the country. And of course, the government. You ever wonder why the IRS only go after the working poor and seem to leave the rich alone? The seeming controlling power of 2% of our country. Of course, I could be wrong. As for perceptions, to be proper slaves, of course, from the fast food cooks working at $7 an hour to the high-priced bean counters who must spend $150,000 a year to maintain his $100,000 job. To the worker who is buried in debts because he or she is the one who keeps the economy alive. Debt. That's what keeps the economy alive. Okay, fine. So I am wrong, okay? Prove it. Moving on. Do you know who I truly admire? That street singer who sings her heart out while people walk by, some throwing coins at her. I admire the face painter at the carnival, the trinket seller selling his own wares. I enjoy being in the company of the entrepreneur who believes that she has a better mousetrap. It's a metaphor. I also enjoy being in the company of the guy who is selling his own hot dogs in his own hot dog stand. That man who is working for himself. The self-employed artist, photographer, writer, poet, in short, the creator, the masters of their own life. They're rarely rich, to be sure, but gutsy creators following their own bliss. It is true, no filet mignon for dinner, but sardines and crackers paid for in cash. Masters of his or her own fate. What I find depressing is how, seemingly, governments, federal and local, do everything to exploit the free and the poor. For example, transportation. The poor has no choice but to keep their old car. Yet many auto mechanics, poorly regulated by the state, are free to exploit the poor because of the poor's ignorance of what's wrong with their cars. The poor, as you know, cannot afford the taxes and insurance on a new car, even if it was given to them. So they rely on their old used car that is constantly in need of repairs. And note that the government has regulations rigidly enforced by the state. Dishonest mechanics and used car salesmen are not so rigidly regulated. Another example of seeming exploitation is food. The rich in their neighborhood pay competitive prices for milk, flour, and rice. Bread, maybe $1.89. The poor in their neighborhood pay 3 times for the same items. Bread, $4.50. Another example, of course, loans. In Virginia, maybe in other states too, the poor will pay up to 299% in interest, and the state allows that. Unconscionable, yet fully supported by the very legislators elected to protect those least likely to protect themselves. Those legislators could learn a lot about ethics from the United States Marine Corps. Marines, their job is to protect those least likely to protect themselves. Anyway, I'm drifting, and you get the picture. I know, I sound bitter, but I'm not really. I'm more disappointed. As a child of the 60s, I honestly thought by the 21st century's governments here would have evolved to a more sympathetic to less fortunate. Instead, we still have ghettos designed to generate crime so that the politicians have fodder for their rhetoric. We all know the solutions, of course. Better and real education to prepare students to go into real jobs in their own neighborhood that would provide real income to break the cycle of poverty. Oh, well, as long as we keep the status quo through ignorance, not wanting to think for ourselves, and we keep voting in the supporters of the 2%ers, that is, the super rich who keep exploiting the disenfranchised, the unfortunate, the downtrodden, and the poor, and those who have the money to buy legislators who will support them, we will always have the same. As for us old hippies, we will continue to be creators, even bad creators. We will continue to strive to be independent as we strive to be our own masters, wealthy in spirit and in love. We will continue to enjoy our visits to the thrift stores as we invite you to come and sit with us and share our jug of wine, happy songs, stale bread and cheese. You are invited to think for yourself, and you are invited to join us some evening and watch the sunset. Of course, we are under no illusion that our way of life is for everyone. All we're saying is we want to give peace and love a chance, and you're free to join us in our quest for a world with integrity and a world without exploitation, and a world where we have justice and freedom for all. As for the flowers, I did enjoy shooting pictures of them, and it would make me very happy if you enjoyed looking at them.